Also, no action or slow action from lawmakers on Capitol Hill with regards to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Judith Browne Dianis of the Advancement Project joins us now to talk about where we go from here. And Ms. Dianis, are you optimistic? I keep asking that question over and over again this morning, but it seems to be the one that needs to be asked. Because after George Floyd, we found out about Daunte Wright. Then we found out about the situation in North Carolina. This week, we find out about the situation in Louisiana, Columbus, Ohio. We are finding out more and more and more that young black men are being killed in numbers that even I didn't imagine. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm hopeful because our people took to the streets after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were killed. And as a result of that, we've seen a lot of change. No, we are nowhere near where we need to be, but people were calling to defund the police. And do you know that places like Austin, Texas, actually reduced their policing budget from 40% of their budget to 26% of their budget. Over 35 school districts have removed police from schools. There is a mandate. Now, the question is whether or not Congress understands the mandate, because they have not moved in the way that we should expect them to move. The other piece that we have to get done is that Kristen Clark has a vote today to be the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights of the Department of Justice, and she will be in charge of cases against police departments. So we have a lot of unfinished business, that's for sure. And I will say that even if the Justice and Policing Act gets passed, we cannot take our foot off the gas because we have more work to do.
You know, I'm always fascinated when I see these images of protest breaking out, because you have the protesters on one side and then you have the police on the other side. It reminds me of a workplace in which the people that own the company are sitting at the desk, and the people that should be working for them don't understand they don't own the company. Do you think law enforcement in this country understands that we're the boss, we're the taxpayers? Not only are we paying for what they do right, we're also paying for what they do wrong.
No, they don't understand that. There is a lack of accountability, and that's how we got here. That lack of accountability has led to the blue wall of silence, where officers will cover up for other officers. Those officers who watched Derek Chauvin murder George Floyd, that is the kind of culture. And so as much as people say, oh, it's bad apples, it's not bad apples. It's a whole system, and they don't understand accountability. The police unions continue to be a problem because they actually don't want accountability. And so it's up to us to make sure that they understand that, yes, you are on our dime, that you are public servants, and that we are going to change the rules to ensure transparency and accountability.
How do we make Republicans stand up and take notice of the fact that this is not a black problem? This is not a Democratic problem. This is an American problem. How do we get them to understand that, yes, we pay their salaries too, and they're not listening? Aside from Tim Scott and a few others in Congress, where are they? Where are they on the planes going to Minneapolis saying, I too stand with the family of George Floyd, that something needs to be done? And I don't want to hear that Blue Lives Matter argument anymore after they beat the so-and-so out of the officers who were trying to protect the Capitol. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they don't stand with us, and they are ready to, not only they saw what happened last summer, they saw what happened to George Floyd, they saw us take to the streets, and what did they do? Instead, in state legislatures across the country, they pushed to have anti-protester bills that criminalize protesting. They passed voter suppression laws because they know that we went from protesting to the polling place, and so they're not with us, and so it's really up to us, right? And so this is why this is a marathon. This is not about the fix that we get in this moment. This is a marathon, because ultimately we're going to have to hold them accountable too. It means that we've got to register more people, because we need to let them know that they are out of step with where society is going. And the only way that we can really make sure they understand that is if they lose their jobs. And the way that they lose their jobs is by us turning out and voting.
But in North Carolina, where we saw the death of Andrew Brown, the DA says, I'm working for the people that put me into office. 58% white, 38% black. If those demographics exist in a place like North Carolina, nothing will change. True?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of work that we need to do to make inroads to those people who are not with us. And part of it is for them to understand the ways in which white people get protect and serve, and black people get law and order. And that's really going to come from us continuing this fight, continuing to have the conversations we need to have, continuing to also show that there's a different way, because we know at the end of the day, some of the interactions that we have with police should be handled by other people, other agencies like mental health folks. So being able to point those things out is really important. I would say that, there are a lot of people who are with us who a year ago were not with us, right? When we look at who was on the streets in those protests, they weren't with us before George Floyd died. They weren't with us before that murder. They saw it and they moved. And so I'm still hopeful that we will get more people on our side, because I know the power of the messaging and I know the power of our people when we take to the streets. And I think that we've come a long way in building a multiracial coalition around these issues.
Final question before I let you go. How do we get to the people at the top? We know in Louisiana, they had that tape of the killing of Mr. Green for 2.5 years. The Highway Patrol, the state troopers down there, someone inside that department covered that up. How do we get to the people at the top? Because it's not just the guy walking the beat anymore.
That's right. Well, I mean, I think we have examples of that, Del. Like, we have examples of Chicago when Laquan McDonald was murdered and they did a cover-up. That DA had to go, that police chief had to go, the mayor had to go. And so I think that we're on the precipice of big change. I think that we have got to call out these cover-ups. Again, the police unions they're lobbyists, right? They're not just unions to get better wages for people. They actually are lobbyists. And so they're lobbying against us when we're looking for just laws. They are also padding the pockets of DAs when they're running for office and for governors. And so we've got to also, when we are looking for people who are running, we've got to hold them accountable. Who are you getting your money from? If you're getting money from the people who are against us, who are not for justice, then we can't vote for you. And so there's a lot of work to be done, but I will tell you that we've come a long way in a year, and we still have a long way to go, though.
They sometimes don't pay attention to black. They always pay attention to green. Judith Browne Dianis, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Del.